Hello, good evening, everyone. I
Good
hope,
evening, Anil. Good evening, team.
okay, good evening. I hope I am audible to you, right?
Yeah, yes, Anil.
Okay, great. So, so welcome back. Nice, Veeravadan. So, we had a session last week, right? So, we were trying to make a Git application, a Python application running, right? We were trying to build a WhatsApp bot. So were you guys successful in doing that?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Rick. Yep.
Yeah. I got to, yes, point. I didn't get to the point of the post and part of it. I did get the server
Okay.
after that. So that was, I didn't get to the last part. I just, yeah.
Okay. You didn't get the last part of it, huh?
No. I haven't loaded up yet. Ready? Yeah.
Okay. I think I have again the same problem of unable to listen to you properly. Again, the same.
Oh, okay.
So
Let me,
I
let me switch here. Is it better now?
Yeah, it is better now. Yeah, I'm able to listen. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I was to that point. I got to that point. Fine. Uh, I just didn't, didn't finish it through. I did open up the floor account, and I did send some WhatsApp back and forth.
Uh, sorry, Rick. Again, there is a problem. So, to some point, you are successful. It looks like to some
Better?
point you are successful. Uh-huh.
Hang on, let me get the microphone.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Better?
Yeah, I am able to hear you. But when you actually continue, some words are getting skipped actually. So,
Oh, is it better now? Sorry.
yeah,
Better?
it is better now. Yeah, I'm able to listen the sentence. Is it better now?
Yes. Yeah. So
So,
yeah, like I said, I was able to serve the hello. By the way, there's an issue in the installation on the instructions there because they save it as a hello.py. PyY is
yeah, hello.py, it can be renamed to any py. So basically,
right.
what is the name of your Python file? You have to put that name actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was one there, a quirk, which, and the other one is that setting the environmental variable. You appoint the environment. You do not want to put the double quotes around. I could import at the very beginning.
You couldn't import some API, right? Which API you couldn't import?
Well, I could import it, and the reason why it wasn't importing is because I set the environmental variable, the path variable, to when I set it on the double quotes. But when I invoke it in the Flask application, you should not use the double quotes to invoke the application when run it in Flask. So that
Uh,
was the reason I was not able to import. I went to Stack Overflow and I found
okay. So Rika, I think the best idea is to actually send an email to me about the missing steps, what problems you are facing. Uh, I will actually reply to you with, we can actually contact offline.
Yeah,
Basically,
that's fine. That's fine. I just want to let you know where I was. I think I could complete it. It's just I
yeah,
didn't
I
get
could
to the
actually,
bottom of it.
it would have been great if we could actually hear you properly. So still I am not able
Okay. I'm sorry.
Uh, so I think there is some problem with import. That's what I understand. But exactly what is the problem? I'm not able to listen to you. So that is the problem. Yeah.
Right. No, the import. I did resolve the import. Can you hear me? I did resolve it.
You resolve the import. Okay, cool.
Yes, I did resolve the import. What happens is that the import, just for the other students, the problem is that when you set the path, because you've got to set the path to the class tab uh, variable, you set it up under double quotes, but when you run it, when you want to run the application, you should not double quote the name of the file. That's the reason it did not import. But I resolved it. I looked it up in Stack Overflow.
Okay, awesome. You resolved the problem. Okay, but
Yes, I did.
are you successfully able to send WhatsApp and get the response?
Yes, I did do that. I did that do that last week. I was able to see it in my WhatsApp. Yes, I was
Okay,
able
awesome. Great.
yeah,
Great.
yeah. I just didn't get to the end where I want to do the post, for the cat and image. I didn't get to the end of it, but I just didn't finish it. I will finish it. And if I have any questions, I'll get back to you. Yes.
Okay, great, Rick. Great. Yep.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the voice.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep. Yep. Thanks, Rick. Yep. Okay. So it's good to know that we are able to successfully build it. So now you can see that we have built a end-to-end application with a simple Python, right? So it's because of the ecosystem we had. We have used open source APIs exposed by someone else. The CAD API, the quotation API, which were exposed by someone else, and we just used that, and finally we built an end-to-end Hotspot application. So building the API is also not so difficult. We can build our own API. We just need to host our APIs in any language, or we can also host our API in Python language itself, and we are good to go. So 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 it's a simple application which demonstrates of how we can actually build a simple WhatsApp bot using Python. So that we have learned the main concept, right? So the main concept of virtual environment is creating virtual environment for the in Python is very important. So that's what I wanted to show, and how we can make a call, API calls using one single line. How can we make a single API call using Python? That's what I wanted to demonstrate. I'll just explain the same thing again for 5 minutes, and from there we'll pick up other main language basics of Python. What are the main data types in Python, and how can we actually program in Python, and we will try to do the exercise. So each one of us, we will actually leverage the CloudX lab platform, and we will actually run code in Jupyter and learn by ourselves. That's what I think. Putting everyone in hands-on will help us to get ourselves all the syntax of programming, what we can do using Python. We can actually learn by doing in the lab itself, so that our muscle memory helps us in storing all memorize things very easily, right? So let's do that. Okay, I will share my screen for now. We'll start again the Python basics now. Okay, I think I already shared it. Can you guys see that?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Anil, this is Pranav. I have one query.
Yeah.
How do we follow what you are teaching and what is there in the CloudX Lab curriculum? I mean, they've given videos, right?
Yeah. So, I will go through the Python session one by one today, and it will be same as that is in the video. And so video is only one of the part. Other than that, we have other um, the entire learning the topic. It's entire topic, right? We are supposed to learn the entire topic, each and every chapters, like in the index you can see, right? we have to go through each and every topics. Like for example, in this Python, we have 134 sections, right? So we have to go through each and every section. And once we complete this entire each section, then we'll get evaluation. So in this section, it is divided into multiple parts. Like it will actually teach you also. Along with that, it will also help you. It will ask you a few questions about what we have taught, so that you put your hands on, and at that point only you can evaluate yourself whether you have understood what is being taught, right? So that's the way the CloudX Lab platform has been built. So for example, now we have started Python, right? So we'll start from getting started, and afterwards, in first topic, we have we have learned about getting started, and this is the video. It's not only the video. Once you actually learn, learn what was taught, right? Uh, as soon as we learn what is taught, once we see what are the slides, once we go through all the slides, for example here, and all those things, what we have learned, right? Then in the next section you will be asked a few questions. So based upon the questions, like these two sections, after this you will be asked questions, um, somewhere, some basic questions, like you have to answer all these questions. So go through these questions, try to answer the questions, and once you answer these questions and so submit the answer, you will be immediately evaluated whether your answer is right or not, right? So once and you will get some points. So based upon that, you will learn at runtime itself. At runtime only, you will try to understand what you are learning, and you evaluate yourself whether you are able to follow up or not, right? So that is the basic idea. Otherwise, if you just go on listening the videos and if you just go on listening the videos and think that you are done, only the theory will be in your mind. But once, if you actually do it in a question answer basis, right? Once you actually type the code in Jupyter, that way you actually remember the syntax also. Tomorrow you'll be confident enough that um, you can actually program in Python. So that's the basic idea. So so because it was a DevOps specific training, we will limit ourselves to DevOps specific Python related programming. So in the video, though, it was mentioned that it is Anaconda distribution we need to install. For the DevOps training, we don't need Anaconda. So I explicitly mentioned that we need not install Anaconda distribution of Python for DevOps training at least. So but it doesn't harm us to learn Anaconda as well, because Anaconda is a very famous distribution. So it's good to learn how we install Anaconda via the video. That's okay. So
Anil, I have one question.
yeah, tell me.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. So when we are saying the DevOps here, how the Python is playing the role in the DevOps?
Oh, okay. So basically DevOps is like a developer and operations both, right? So basically you are a developer and operation also. At some point of time you are supposed to code also, right? And nowadays in the industries, the most used languages for DevOps engineers are basically Python and Golang. So these two languages, and also few amount of JavaScripts. So basically this DevOps evolved in such a way that so before there was no such roles called DevOps, right? So they were completely divided into two parts. Basically, developers were always used to code. They are supposed to learn the programming languages. And operational team, there was operational team separately. They were not developers, and they were supposed to only do the infrastructure management, installing software, making the production server up. So that was a task of operation. How to do the deployment? Those tasks were belonging to the operations team, right? But basically now there was a huge gap. There was a huge gap in understanding between the developers code and the operational team, right? So in order to make the product more stable, more resilient, and make the deployment cycle very faster. Nowadays, every company deploys every day. Like Google actually ships lots of products in within one day itself, right? So in order to do that task, right, and in order to uh, um, eliminate the gap between developers and operations team, the new role came up called DevOps, right? So which is like if you are supposed to learn a basic programming language, which would help in automating the deployment process. Um, so for example, as you use the role, right, as a DevOps engineer, you are supposed to write code to automate infrastructure to actually solve the real-time problems in production. Let's take one example. You are a DevOps engineer and you are using Jenkins tool, right? So
Okay.
I will teach you next what is Jenkins actually. So basically, Jenkins is used for it's a very strong open source tool, and it is used for continuous integration and continuous deployment, right? So basically, continuous integration, continuous deployment is done, and either development environment or the production environment are actually deployed with the code. So once you have a stable code, you deploy it there. But in production, there may be some bugs coming out, right? Some bugs in the sense some instability in the code. A few machines are down. You need to identify that, right? So to identify that, you have to identify, like, you have a huge amount of machines. You cannot manually go for each and every machine. You can't manually go to that machine and ping whether the machine has this particular software installed or not, and so on, right? So to do that, in Jenkins jobs, you can just write there is something called Jenkins jobs. You can just create a Jenkins jobs, and in the Jenkins jobs, you can write a Python script. You can write a inbuilt Python script to find out all the machines which are having problems, right? So that way it helps you. Like,
Okay. Yeah, so if any specific bugs or any issues we are getting from our code, we need to write this Python code to I mean monitor those issues and resolve that issues through the
ah,
tool.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so unless until if I have a .NET application with me,
Mm-hmm.
so can I able to do the automation, automatic deployment and check-in process of the deployment, after that testing and building. So those process can be able to make it automate through DevOps.
Yes, yes. So it depends upon what tool you are using. So for automating the test testing the environment, it is
Correct.
independent of what code you are actually developing. So basically, code can be developed in any language, whether it is .NET in your case, or whether it is Java or any other language, right? Any other language you to do, you have
Correct.
a separate tools to actually do the automation for you, right? So
Okay.
so there are for those we take help of few tools, like for Git. If you go with GitLab provides us with automation tools of its own. GitHub provides its own automation tools, or you can use Jenkins itself to do the automation. Jenkins has its own script to actually do the continuous integration and continuous deployment. It has its own script. So we have to, it's basically a Jenkins file we have to create, a simple Jenkins file, which contains all the instructions to actually do the deployment and do the tasks of testing and unit testing, integration testing. We have to queue this all those instruction in a single file called Jenkins file. And obviously, what we can do is, like, you might have heard about GitHub, right? You might be
Yes.
knowing about GitHub.
Yeah.
So Jenkins can be finally integrated with GitHub also. Like, we can say GitHub saying that, okay, we have a Jenkins server running in some place, and Jenkins will be informed that, okay, for every commit that you do in GitHub, you have to go via Jenkins. That's what we can actually configure. So in GitHub, there is something called hooks. Okay.
Okay.
So those hooks, right? There are many kind of hooks in GitHub. One of the important hook is like commit hook. So what happens is, like, whenever you actually commit a code, we can saying that to GitHub, you just log into, you might be knowing github.com, right? You just go to log into github.com. You should be owner of that particular repository. And in github.com, you can say that I want to enable one particular hook for a commit. So I will say that for every commit hook, for every commit, you have to talk to Jenkins server, and Jenkins server URL is so and so, something like you can say yourcompany.jenkins.com, which is installed somewhere in cloud. Maybe you can use Google Cloud, GCP, or you can use AWS Cloud, or you can use Azure Cloud, wherever you can. In case of AWS, you can install your Jenkins in a EC2 instance of AWS, and there if to GitHub you can just provide a hook saying that for every commit, contact this Jenkins server, and what Jenkins server will be configured to run all the tests and all the tests and deployment specific logic, which is written in a file called Jenkins file. I will explain you later when I actually explain you the Jenkins, how Jenkins works with a runtime instructions. I will explain you. So the um, basic idea is like for every deployment we have different kind of tools. We just need to leverage the tools and make use of it. For example, you have another tool called Travis. Travis also can work the same way. It is also CI/CD pipeline tool. You need to use how you need to learn how Travis works and integrate in your GitHub source repo, and it will help us in CI/CD pipeline. So let me know if you have if you have more questions.
Yeah. So for the understanding purpose, Anil.
Yeah.
So in the if you are using the Jetkit tool, so we need to learn the Python. Is that mandatory to learn the Python?
No. Jenkins is a completely different tool.
Okay.
It is not it is almost like mandatory if you have a task of writing a Jenkins jobs. Okay.
Okay.
So see, in Jenkins, there is something called Jenkins jobs. Okay. So
Okay.
what happens is like Jenkins helps us with different kind of projects. There is something called Jenkins pipeline. We can create a pipeline. Pipeline is nothing but a set of tasks. Which
Like
is
a
run.
source code, we want to build it and we want to post it in the repository. Then we want to test it that the source code. So those, I mean, those we can call it as a pipeline. Am I right?
Yes, that's
That
true.
process.
Yeah. Mm. So basically, like in Jenkins jobs, we can when you come to pipeline, right? So there it will ask like what kind of pipeline, what you want to what kind of job you want to create, what kind of Jenkins jobs you have to create, what do you want to build. It will ask you. It will provide you a fine UI asking what exactly the task you want to do via this Jenkins jobs, via this Jenkins pipeline. So in that, most common practice is generally people do is like they will build a simple Python inbuilt Python scripts for small tasks. What they do is like they Jenkins just provide a simple space like notepad like space in its job only. In notepad, it's like a notepad environment. You just write the Python script in that particular notepad, and once you write that Python script in that notepad and you say Jenkins jobs build, it will just execute the Python. So the Python script based upon your business logic, whether in this case, suppose you just want to connect to a particular server and check whether a command is working or not, whether a deployment was successful or not. Those script you can actually write in Python, provided in the Jenkins, and provide it in the Jenkins jobs, and you just need to build. Once you have that particular Jenkins jobs built right with Python script, you can run it in thousands of machines in a fractions of time. Like you need not, so in big environment you need not go through each and every machine. It will take it's almost impossible in real time. Like if you are a DevOps engineer in Google or Facebook or any other big company where they are actually where they are actually maintaining hundreds of servers, it's very almost impossible to resolve the issues of the server manually. So what we do is like we just write a simple Jenkins jobs with our problem statement and try to take the Jenkins jobs help to automatically run in each and every machine and try to resolve it. So that's the way it works, right? So like frequent, like in DevOps, when it comes to DevOps, right? When you are on call, for example, you are on call, you have a very limited time to resolve a particular issues, and there will be a lot of issues coming for you. Suppose you are a DevOps engineer, and you are a DevOps engineer and you are running on Kubernetes cluster. So you know Kubernetes cluster, right? So Kubernetes cluster is a uh, Kubernetes is a orchestration tool, and it actually is we can say that Kubernetes is a orchestration tool which automatically deploys in a machine. Automatically, it selects a machine of its own. Kubernetes selects a machine of its own and deploys your code in that particular empty machine, right? So you have many machines in Kubernetes, and you want to you want to identify in real-time production when you are on call, some pods are down due to some reason. And there are lots of machines which are maintained in Kubernetes. So you take care, you take help of Jenkins jobs to identify all those problems.
Okay, Anil.
Yeah, I will explain you. I will explain you by hands-on how it works actually. I will show you a running demo of a Jenkins jobs with Python scripts running in next later sessions. That will be helpful. Okay, so as a DevOps engineer, right? I will give you, as the topic has come here, I will give you overall set of tools. What is the real task of a DevOps engineer? So basically, DevOps engineer is supposed to handle the infrastructure, right? Like what are the requirements of your application? Suppose you have a .NET application. If it is web application, how much amount of server is required? Uh, how much amount of server, what is the server capacity, whether you want to have a some 48 core machine, how many machines do you want, do you have a microservice architecture? So all these requirements, you take it according to your application needs. How much do you want to scale? What is the demand of your application? Whether it is going to be scaling up at particular point of time, like during the Diwali seasons, like Flipkart will be having many orders, right? Festival seasons like Christmas or Diwali, there are a lot of orders. So at the time you have to scale your machines, number of machines you have to scale up from 10 machines to 100 machines at that point. And automatically when there is no demand, you have to reduce the machines from 100 back to 10, right? So scale up, scale down, and suppose some machines are up, some machines are down, how to identify them, how to actually bring them up again. So those all tasks are the responsibility of a DevOps engineer. So we have to learn before this. So you have to identify what are the tasks of a DevOps engineer. Then later you have to identify the tools which you need to help fulfilling your tasks, right? So for fulfilling tasks, you need to lead these tools, right? So these tools are basically like we have a list of tools for different tasks. For infrastructure, as for maintaining the infrastructure, we have automated tasks like Terraform, something called Terraform. In order to install, basically we have bunch hell of softwares to install in thousands of machines. In order to install softwares, you have a different software called Ansible. After you install a software, you have to run your application. You have to run your application in already installed machines, right? So that for that case, you have a tool called Kubernetes. And in order to make sure that your builds are successful, you have to whether the deployment is going fine or not, whether your unit tests are working fine or not. For that, you take help of CI/CD tools. So for CI/CD tools, you have a lot of tools. Like one of them is Jenkins, others are Travis or Circle CI, or like for Microsoft specific, you have Azure DevOps tool, and similarly so on. So we have for CI/CD we have different set of tools. And for monitoring purpose, for example, you want to identify, we have to continuously monitor and find out what are the errors coming in different machines. in production or in other environments, staging environments. You take help of tools like Grafana, Prometheus, so on. So we'll go through all these tools and how these tools are have how we will learn these tools hands-on. We need to have hands-on on all these tools. How we need to come across how to install these tools, how to make, how to connect these tools, interconnect these tools with each other, and how to run these tools in the real-time production environment to find the real-time problems, right? So as a DevOps engineer, we are supposed to be expertise in all these tools to fulfill our tasks. So basically our task mainly is to actually um, um, fulfill the deployment infrastructure and maintenance related task of our production machines, right? So for that we need to learn all these tools. So all these tools, how to use these tools are there, are as part of our DevOps engineering topics. So there you can actually see these topics one by one. As I hope you already seen the test, but I will again explain you there here. You can just go to our course section and look into our topics, right? So these topics, right? So these all these tools are actually used for the purpose of DevOps engineering. So here we have explained, we have clearly explained one by one. First four topics we already know what it is. Now, as a DevOps engineer nowadays, we need to learn actually the Linux basics for sure. So this is topic 2, Python. We are already going through. Other than that, we will just introduce ourselves to DevOps, and then later Git you might be known. So Git version control is also the famous tool. Like it is a mandatory thing for not only DevOps, for any software engineering. Uh, Git is a mandatory requirement, and followed by we will come across all the tools which a typical DevOps engineer must know. Like for example, in our syllabus, you see Docker container. What are Docker containers? And what is CI/CD pipeline? How we enable it using Docker? So here I have mentioned Travis here, right? So we can use Travis circle integration, or we can use Jenkins also. So we come across CI/CD pipeline in topics 10 and 11, and um, followed by other advanced Docker topics. And then, as I have mentioned, Jenkins is there. We'll also learn about what is Ansible, what is Terraform, and I have also mentioned about Grafana and Prometheus. How do we monitor the our real-time production issues? How to identify? How do we monitor at runtime? So this is a monitoring tool. What is Kubernetes? Kubernetes is a word right now for DevOps engineer. Kubernetes, many people are actually shifting to Kubernetes, and so on. So this is what the so this is the entire technical tech stack for a typical DevOps engineer. So every DevOps engineer is supposed to learn these tools. Like there may be many other tools. There are a lot of other tools in the market. These are the tools like Docker, Jenkins, Ansible, Terraform, monitoring tools like Grafana, Prometheus, Kubernetes are in top of the stack. Like or in their own environment, they are the leaders as of now. So they are mostly used. So we will go through each and every tools, how it is actually being used in the real time environments. We'll go through each and when we actually visit the topics. Okay.
So, Anil, this is Pranav. So, when you go through all of this, by the end of it, you will be able to comprehend how these are interrelated, integrated, I guess.
Yes. So basically you can, yeah, I will give you an overall picture, and basically view these tools actually are a very big topic of its own. Okay. So when you come into Jenkins, it has a lot of learning to learn, like to become expertise. Jenkins itself is a huge topic. Ansible itself is a huge topic. Terraform itself is a huge topic. When you actually learn each and everything, right, you will be able to admire what is its role as a whole when it comes to the overall tech stack. What is the role of Jenkins in its own role? What is its role in fulfilling the DevOps specific task? What is the role Ansible plays in helping engineer in DevOps specific task. You will be able to identify that. And how it is interconnected, I will explain you in the beginning itself. When it comes to DevOps, right? I will explain you that, but you may not be able to match them immediately, but you will be able to identify when you actually learn the topics one by one later.
Okay. Thank you.
So I am willing to jump right now itself. I can say you in single state. I have already said you in single statement how they are related, but I will actually iterate again. So if you
And we
already
will do
know,
hands-on for these so that the concepts are clear.
yeah, we have to actually. So we can go through hands-on. Like now today we'll start with hands-on in Python. Later we'll do hands-on on other topics as well. I will highly recommend you to actually go through this topic like foundation of Python. You start the course, and we may not be able to cover it today completely by 11 o'clock everything. So I will try to skip things, but you have to go through each and every topic. Like you have to go through these slides, and then you have to click next topic and uh, try to complete the course and try to answer all the questions that are being asked to you in the course itself. Few as basics, right? Few things may be very trivial, may be looking very trivial to you, but try to answer all the questions. Try to spend time to answer questions. And so here, while you go through this, goes through each and every topic, then you will see that you are evaluating yourself, you are learning itself. There may be few people who already know Python, but you again, if you follow these instructions, you will get more expertise, you will get more close to how you do hands-on in Python. So that's the way you actually learn. So once you practice by yourself, you are learning. But if I do myself, that means I am only learning. So so that's the way the CloudX lab is actually built. CloudX lab helps each and every person to evaluate himself by going through the topic one by one here. So I am here to actually help you to stuck if you are if you're not able to understand or few things. We cannot cover all the topics here, right? Yeah, each and every topic, even Python is a very big world. Like you will learn basics of Python, how to code in Python, what are the basic syntaxes of Python, what we can do with Python. But Python itself can be used in many other areas. It can be used in machine learning. For machine learning, there are a lot of packages. There is a big learning curve there itself. For artificial intelligence, there is a lot of other packages. For web application in Python, you have to use other packages, right? We cannot go through each and every packages of Python. So it's of your own interest. You have to, if you want to dig deeper, you can go to those areas also. Yeah. So, but for the course is built in such a way that you will evaluate yourself by learning at that particular instant itself. You learn at that particular instance only. You actually try to put your hands on, and and there itself you evaluate yourself, and you will be provided some sort of marks also to see whether you are answering correctly or not. So that's the way it works. So everybody just open your course, probably read the video. If you, while reading the video, if you don't understand, probably later you can again revisit the video after answering few questions, like after going through the slides, after going through the topics, after answering the question and answers. You can always revisit the video again and see whether it makes sense, whether you are able to understand again. So that's the way it works. Okay. So last time we already started Python programming, right? So last time we actually focused not on the real programming. What is the syntax of programming? That we didn't focus on last time. Last time we were actually focused on how to install Python, not distribution, Anaconda distribution, but the normal way. Normal way, how to install Python. What are the different IDEs we can use in Python? That's what we have discussed last week. This week we will actually go into the more fundamentals of Python, like what is the basic syntax of Python, how you can actually just jump into Python and start coding, right? So that's the basic idea of these next coming sessions. So we'll go to that particular session now. So let's go to that session, which is in the next session. Yeah, so this you might be knowing why do we need programming, all know, but I would actually recommend you to just have a read. Like nowadays, everything is programmable. Now, your program is everywhere, right? You can build anything. You can build your daily tasks in a life also. You can actually program it. So that's the main program. It has been founded that in today's technical technology world, a program is everywhere, right? Um, So we have already discussed last time what Python can do, and also we have given you an example of building a WhatsApp bot also, right? It's a real time. I would actually say everybody to actually go through that building bots. It is very interesting. Rick was successfully able to run that. Please, other guys also please try to run that application and see how it was working. Then if you do that right, you can see that Python, how Python is actually helping you in building real-time applications. So just go through that particular GitHub repo and follow the instructions and run the Python WhatsApp bot application. So now we are actually mainly focusing. So we are actually focusing on the Python syntax, right? So what are the different data types supported? What are the different kind of variables that you can initialize in Python and so on? We'll go through that. So meanwhile, in middle, you will be asked a few questions. Try to, if you are already opening your own editor, I would please answer all these questions and try to answer them. You will learn of your own. So if it will be great if everybody opens the same editor here, what I'm opening, and see and try to answer. And you can even if few questions are skipped by me, you can actually go through that later and try to answer them and evaluate yourself. Okay, so these are all questions for you. You just answer them and see if you are able to answer or not, and then evaluate yourself. I will just skip to basic topics of Python. Um, yeah, so let's start with the basics of Python, right? So how can you write statement using Python? So, so you guys know about it? So its answer is input.
Input.
Yeah, you can take input using input, right? You can just type, I will show you here. So let me clear. So this is Jupyter. You can actually run the instructions here itself. You can delete the unwanted things by using this cut. Once you have cut, you can actually clear the Jupyter editor completely and then try to write here again. So maybe like you can try like write this input. Mm. So you can just enter. So I have set an input in command here. So it's a Python built-in function input. So I have given the instructions give your input. So it is trying to take. It will just display this particular instruction. Give your input here as you have seen. Give your input, and there you will be provided with a input console where you can enter what input you want to give. Suppose I enter 34, it will take the input. Now the variable input will take the value 34. You can just make sure that the input is already taken by trying to display the input. In Jupyter, you can just type INP and you can see the output, or you can actually print also. Print the statement is something like that. You can do that also. You can just print INP and it should actually work. So you have learned about how Python actually takes input, right? So this is input. So the way you evaluate yourself, you just answer them by selecting the multiple choice and then try to submit answer. And you will see that whether you have answered the correct or not, right? You just get the answer. So this is the way you can just evaluate yourself. So just go through these all statements, and by these questions. By doing this, you will actually learn Python also, and also evaluate also. This is the best way to learn the basics of Python. Yeah. So just please go through all these things. And Cloudx Lab was built in such a way that you can actually evaluate yourself at runtime. So let's start with small things only. Okay. So like for example here, once the value of a variable assigned to you, you cannot change its value again. Is it true or false? It's false, right? You can always assign a variable another new value. Once the value of variable is assigned to you, you cannot change its value again. That is false, right? In any program, a variable can be assigned multiple times, right? So this is the way you actually evaluate yourself. So let me know if you want to ask any questions. It's fine. So basically Python has different kind of data types. So these all questions comes into picture based upon the introduction to programming in Python slides, right? So I'll just explain you different kind of data types that you was explained in this video. Here, so as in other programming languages, different data types are like integers, strings, and other things. Other than that, in Python, there is something called lists and lists. Other specific data types called tuple. We'll go through them also and see how we can use them, how we can use dictionaries, what is the syntax of using dictionary, um, how does the if loop, how to use if loop, for loop in Python. We'll go through that. So just go through these slides and see how we can use the language syntax of Python. Um, so just have a look into all these slides. It actually explains what are the use of Python, how can we use Python in different domains. So just to keep in mind, Python is just one part of this course, right? So I would encourage, but it is important to start with basics. If you know the basics, if you feel like you can skip, you can skip. But if you want to put your hands on, make you brush up your skills again, then you can go through this again, once again. So learning in one place will actually help you in memorizing things rather than getting input from multiple areas. You can just use Cloudx Lab platform as a single learning source and learn the basics. And later, after you're comfortable with all things that you have learned in Python, Cloudx Lab, I would encourage to become more expert in that area. If you want to become advanced Python, if you want to learn more, maybe you can dig deeper and get more expertise uh, uh, in that specific area. Yeah.
Anil, I have one clarification.
Yeah.
So, like a .NET, do we have collections and generics in Python also? Like you said list, right? So, like that array list, hash tables.
Yeah, no, not, it's not so specific actually in Python. We have, for example, list, right? In list, it is a simple list. It supports where you can actually, in list, you can store integer and strings in the same list itself. You can say, so Python is a very simple language. It doesn't have such strong, it is not strongly typed, as we can say.
Okay, so like so for when we are fetching the data from the database, so to hold the data, when debugging the code, we hold the data, right? So for that, what we will use actually, what data type we use in
Oh,
Python?
for debugging purpose, so debugging means like if you are using a standard ID like PyCharm or Visual
Okay.
Studio Code, you can put debug pointers as you do put debug pointer for any other languages. So in the left side, you can just put a
For that, do we have any data table kind of thing?
no, not exactly.
Oh, okay.
Mm. Yeah. So debugging you can actually do via putting the debug pointer and use the basic debugging skills um, like as any other language, you can put F10, F12, and you can actually debug the lines one by one, or you can put log commands and actually debug using the login. If it is a real-time production problems, then you can actually put log, you can look into the logs and see the behavior. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Anil. But when we are fetching the data from database, so in the .NET, we will use actually data table or a list kind of thing, or data set kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have like this in the Python. Am I right?
So in database, right, it depends. So which database you want to connect. So it's you can actually read the data from the database. So it is specific to syntax of database specific, right? I don't remember the exact syntax how to actually connect to a particular database, right? Which kind of database? But what you're talking about, like if you're expecting exactly the same data set kind of environment, will be equivalent, but not exactly the same, right? It is not like in .NET, you will be having the object notation of the database, right? Those that kind of syntax is definitely not there. You read the database one by one and copy it into a particular data structure in Python. But exactly which particular data structure can be used, it's a choice of your own, right?
Okay, okay. So
You
we
said is
so
it
we
so
have a
you,
multiple data structure in the Python, correct?
So there is no inbuilt data structure to connect one to one particular database and so on. There is no such inbuilt data structure.
usually the data frame will be the data structure. You
Python has a lot of frameworks in its ecosystem, so you can use any one particular frameworks.
right? No. I was saying that the framework you use in Python for data is a data frame. That's the main one. I was answering his question. The data frame. You manipulate it as a data frame in Python.
Okay, there is something called data frames,
Right.
right?
Right. That is correct. That's how you would manipulate the data
Mm-hmm.
in Python. I want to clear that up.
Mm. Okay, so now let's go to next actually. So we have already gone through is what is a variable. We have already gone through it, right? What are reserved words? We have gone through what are the reserved words. These are the list of reserved words, which is also there in other programming languages also. um, how to assign a particular variable. This is the way we assign a particular variable and so on. um, Numerical expression, order of evolution. You might be knowing about order of evolution, right? So we can we already know that if so the operator precedence, if you already know, then that's great. Otherwise we can just go through it, like if multiplication is given more precedence than plus, plus minus are of single precedence, and they are always evaluated from left to right. So it's in the same for other languages also. Here also happens the same way, right? We'll go through the if there is any question. So I remember, like there will be a question related to order of execution in somewhere in the while you go through this topic. You can answer that and find out that you are able to understand better in operator precedence how it is working. um yeah. Yeah, so we have few uh, Python integer design. There is some examples of how it is doing. Like 10 by 2 will evaluate to 5, but 9 by 2 will be evaluating to 4. Instead of it is 4.5, it evaluates to 4. Similarly, 99 by 100 will evaluate to 0. So just go through the slides. You will get yourself again, rebrush yourself with respect to all coding coding syntax of Python. So it will just help you just go through the slides and follow the instructions. You will learn. I think all of you are experienced guys, but though you are experienced, if you just go through it, it will actually brush up your skills. That will be great. Um, yeah. So as usual, the comments in Python, you might be knowing in other programming languages also. So here, as in shell script, we have hash as a comment. Here also Python, we can have a hash as a comment. We have as a comment. In this particular example, so the first line is a comment, right? So other languages, others are actually expressions. We can just run them. String operations. We um, last week we already see how to initialize a string, right? So string can be in single quotes, can be in double quotes. In single quotes also, it can take it as a string. So here you can say you can see that you actually print two strings. You can actually you are actually concatenating the string and then printing it. Here is an example of how to do that. So this is interesting. So high into 5 times. So if you do high into 5 times, it does something like this. So that's one of the things which we generally doesn't happen in other programming languages. So there are many other things which are programming language specific. So Python has its own way of printing based upon the instructions you give. Yeah. Okay, so let's actually go to something interesting. So just have a look into, just go through this topic one by one, one by one, and try to answer all these questions. I am skipping these questions for now, and we will probably go to more specific things. Like let's start with uh, types of variables in Python. Yeah. So as you know, like Python has integer type, floating type, and other types of Pythons are string type. You can go string type and Boolean type, right? So string can be called like this. Like you can just assign a variable a string type, and it will actually assume itself that this particular variable is of string type. So that's why it gets initialized. Boolean type should be like exactly capital TRU, capital FAR, let's see. So you can actually answer these questions also. You can just create a new string called gender with male and try to submit your answer and evaluate yourself whether you are able to answer the correct questions correctly or not. Okay, so this is one of the question. You can just answer them. Print game plus one. What does it do? If you are not able to answer the question, you can just get the hint. You can see whether the hint helps you or not. Or if you answer it wrongly, for example, you just answer it wrong, you submit the answer, you will be given an answer saying that it is incorrect answer, right? So if you answer it correctly, so it will give you the correct answer. So in this case, you cannot concatenate directly a game. So in single quotes, maybe it works. You can just evaluate yourself in Jupyter here. You can check it out. If you have doubt saying that, okay, it is because of double quotes, maybe it is because of single quotes, it works. You can just check it out here. Again, it says the same answer. So in Python, you can't actually add a string and one in print statement directly. So that's what you can immediately check yourself whether you are able to evaluate it correctly or not in the Jupyter button below. Yeah. So in programming in Python, there are a lot of things you can actually learn. by going through each and every instructions here, you can evaluate yourself. So I hope you are all opening your own favorite editor, right? So you guys are have opened your topic, right? I would actually recommend everybody to open the chapter topic and try to answer each one of them and see whether you are able to answer them or not. So here in this case, for example, you are defining a variable total interest with value 9762.67. So you assign this value in Jupyter and type the total interest variable name is. So what is the type? How can you actually type? So here to find the type, you can just type this one, right? So you can check it out, like type interest equal to six nine, and then you can check the type of it, like by using the instruction type of total interest. Okay, and you will see that Python is automatically identified it as a float, right? So this way you can check yourself. You can check the syntax, whether you're able to type it correctly or not. So you can just answer now and submit the answer. So now you have learned that there is a particular function, built-in type function called type, right? There is a built-in type function called type, and you can identify the type of any variable by just you're sending that variable name as a parameter to it, and you will get the output, what type of variable it is, right? So similarly, you can use you can identify other types of area of rectangle variable. You just follow you try to answer it yourself, then you can evaluate by yourself. Okay, I hope you are actually running this particular code now and see whether you are able to answer these questions or not, right? So you know how to do that, right? You have to just find you have to just type the area of rectangle, initialize the variable area of rectangle and find that area of rectangle type and type answer it here and submit the answer. Hmm. Yeah, so as we go on, we will see that we are trying to see, we are learning more and more. So here we are trying to learn about operations of other types also. So in this case, it is a simple addition of two integers, so it will work. You can just print addition of two integers here. So that's what we are doing. Similarly, addition of two strings, right? So basically in strings, when you are addition of two strings, it is concatenation of strings, concatenation of two strings, right? So similarly here, so we have already seen similar kind of example here, like concatenation doesn't work for a string and 25 integer number, right? It will give a runtime error. That's what you have seen in the previous example. So Python doesn't allow us to actually add a string with the integer. So here we are giving an example of how to fix this particular problem. So if we can't add an integer, we have to convert it to integer. So to convert to integer, we have a inbuilt function called str. So this str will convert a integer value into a string 25. So once you give this particular integer value as input, you give str of 25, it will convert into a string. Now you can actually concatenate a string with another string. So that's the way it actually. So only thing is, like, you have to follow these instructions one by one. As now only you can actually read this and try to answer the questions based upon the instructions given to you and evaluate yourself. By this way you will learn. So in this case, you will already learn, saying that uh, by following these instructions, you will learn how to convert a particular integer into a string type conversion, string conversion, how the string conversion happens in Python, and how you can actually concatenate with existing string. So at runtime, if you run these particular instructions and try to answer it, you will put your hands on. Then you can actually memorize the syntax and how the Python works with respect to string concatenation. You will always remember it. Yeah. So please actually run, spend some time to just run and submit the answer and evaluate yourself. This by this you will be learning about uh, the string concatenation, at least uh, in this particular topic. So I hope you are all opening this, right. You are opening and running this, right. Please run this. And if you are not able to run, maybe of because of Jupyter not running, just let me know. So these topics are not so complicated, but it will just help yourself brushing your basic Python skills, right. So as a software engineer, you might be running on many other languages, right. You might be forgetting the syntax, for forgetting new main data types of for which are supported in Python. This will just help you improve your basic coding skills in Python. Just try to put your hands on. Unless you don't put your hands on in programming languages, it's very hard to remember. It looks very trivial. It's very good practice to actually follow the instructions and run them one by one. And that's how CloudX Lab will help you in doing this. So it may look like, oh, these are very trivial things, but these trivial things only matter when it comes to real interview questions, right? They will ask you to actually code in Python. When they will ask you to code in Python, it may not strike your mind immediately, and you will not be able to answer the questions at that point of time, right? So always put your hands on whenever you are learning programming languages. As soon as you learn a concept in Python, try to run them immediately. You're trying to run them immediately. There is something called muscle memory. So once you are put your hands on, you try to type the code, then it gets into memory very easily. So that's the way it works in any programming languages. So use this CloudX platform to study the syntax, study the concept, and immediately evaluate yourself here itself. So that will actually, though it looks very simple, but tomorrow you will definitely forget one or two. And as you know, in programming language, if you forget the syntax, you cannot immediately at that point of time come up with output, right. So it's very important to put your hands on. So please follow the instructions in CloudX Lab and try to put your hands on as much as possible and learn on your own. So that is the main motivation behind putting all these slides, all these topics to you, so that you can run by yourself. Each and every person can run yourself, the run and learn the syntax and try to memorize them. Yeah. So here it is saying about screen contact concatenation. Immediately we are asking you to actually assign a variable first and lab to second, to a variable second, and then concatenate the two variables first and second, and see how it works. So try to run this particular instructions in your Jupyter Lab in the right side. Okay, so I hope you all guys are doing that. So try to run this particular lab. If we are not opening now, later also try to go through each and every slide. Try to open your own Jupyter Lab console and try to run all these instructions and evaluate yourself. You just run this and submit the answer, and you will be evaluated, and you will be said whether your syntax is correct or wrong. Please follow these instructions and do it in your Jupyter Lab. Okay. Yeah. So this is all. This is what about string concatenation. Concatenation is about adding two strings. So this is the way the string concatenation works, right? So it is all about addition of football and basket. You just add football and basket, and output is stored in a variable called games. Okay. Yeah, there are many string operations. Feel free to learn as much as you want in later. So basic ideas, when it comes to strings, there are many string operations. You can actually strip the strings, you can split the string, you can concatenate string, and the many other operations are also used. You can find the substring of a string. So there are many other operations that you can do on a particular string, right? So you learn string operations as much as possible. One important thing that I just wanted to inform, there is something called mutable and immutable, right? So as you know, like mutable is a concept where saying that if a particular data type is mutable, that means that once it is created, it cannot be changed. So once you create a variable, games is equal to games, for example, once you say, then you cannot change it. In Python, it's also same. Strings are mutable. So if you want to change it, you actually recreate a new string and assign it to it. That's the way it works, and that's why that happens in other languages also, like .NET, Java also. Strings are always mutable. Just keep that concept in mind about mutable. So other variables like integers and are immutable, but string is mutable. Okay. Yeah. So here we will learn about.
When you say string is immutable, you cannot assign any other variable to string, is it? Any other?
Yeah. Strings are
Can you
immutable.
show by an example? Sorry, I'm asking very basic.
Example in the sense like, so you can see that for example, means like the concept of mutable is when you actually run the code, right? For example, here in the previous example, what is happening, for example, you create a variable called games. Okay. Games equal to games. So what we need to keep in mind here is, now internally what happens is games is assigned with a variable called games, right? This you cannot actually interchange it, right? Once you created games, there is no function at all to actually change the value of games internally. Like this is assigned, this is a immutable object, it cannot be modified later. Once suppose you actually say, once again you say games is equal to, again you say that games is equal to games plus done. What happens internally is it will again recreate. So this is games variable assigned with a new value called games plus done. So it will not change this particular variable. So internally, this games is actually stored as an immutable object. So in computer, we store, there is an address for every variable, right? So it creates a new address. This games is stored in a particular address um, um, in the stack, in the memory allocation of the program, right? So it is given some particular address. But once you say that games is equal to games is plus done, right? What it will not append that value to this particular address. Instead, it will create a new string with the existing value games plus done, games plus done, and that is assigned to the variable games. So that is the concept of mutable. For example, I will say, take for example other values. For example, let's take a list. Let's take a list. List is equal to that is, okay. So I created a particular list. Okay. Now I say list of 0. So list of 0, like it is 1, right? 1. I can change, list is mutable, right? You can change the value of the list. For example, I can say that list of 0 is equal to 5. I will say list of 0 is equal to 5, and I will print the list. Okay. I'll print the list. Okay, so now list of 0 has changed. Before the list of 0 was 1, I was able to change the values of the list, right? I was able to change the value of list. So list of 0 was 1 before. I changed the value of list by list of 0 is equal to 5. Okay. And now I try to print when I try to print the list of 0, it was 1. Now it is list of 0. That means you are internally able to change the values of the list. So list is basically mutable. You can change it, but you cannot internally change the values of games. Suppose games is equal to games. There is no API at all exposed in Python, so that you can just internally, before games was this one, you can actually internally change some values. Suppose you want to say games to G, you want to change A in games. You cannot just do that games of something like, you cannot actually do. You cannot just say that games of 1 equal to yes, something like that. You can't do that actually. So it will say that you cannot internally change. String doesn't support as assignment. You cannot change it. There is no such API. So once you have assigned games as games, it is done. So it is unchangeable. Only you can actually manipulate to recreate a new complete set of strings. Like if you want to append something, it will recreate a separate new string. It will recreate a new string and just concatenate the strings. Internally, if you want to change, you can't change at all. You have to again say, if you want to change one single value, then you have to say that games equal to, if you want to change internally A to S, so GS MES. So this way you have to change. You have to completely rewrite the variable and assign it. So you cannot. So this is the way, right? You have initialized games to games, but if you want to change the internally another value of it, right? You just assign the entire thing. You just say that games is equal to GS MECS. You just changed S, S. You changed A to S, but you haven't changed it internally. But you have recreated the entire string as a whole, right? So that's the way. That is called the concept of mutability. You cannot actually change when it comes to string, but when it comes to a list, you can interchange it. You created list, but internally you can change the values of the list. You can say you want to change the list of 0, you have changed the list to back to 5. So lists are mutable, whereas strings are immutable. I hope I answered your question. Right?
Yes, Anil, thank you.
Yeah. So Python has something called immutability for lists also. They call it as tuple. So tuple, right? So here you have created a list with open bracket and close bracket, right? So when you use this open bracket and close bracket, means like square brackets. When you use open square brackets and close square brackets, it creates a immutable thing which is called list. But if you want to create a immutable variant of it, it is called tuple. So tuple, for example, I create like list using this bracket, and I say 1, 2, 3 here, and this is immutable. Now you can't change it. Now I have created list 1, 2, 3. I want to change it. I want to change the first syntax now. So I will say list of 0. I will change it to 7. It will give you an error, because once you create with the closed this bracket, right? This kind of bracket, if you use it, right, it is no longer a list. It is a tuple. So a tuple is basically immutable. Like strings are immutable, tuple is also immutable. So this is the way how tuple works actually. So tuples are once the tuples are created, you cannot change the values again. It's only read only for the lifetime. Okay. So this is the concept of immutability. It is an immutable version of list in Python. Okay. So similarly, tuples as string is immutable. Tuples are also immutable, and how you initialize a tuple is using open bracket, this kind of brackets. If you use this kind of brackets, it's a tuple. But if you use this kind of bracket, then it is a list and it is mutable. You can change the internal values by using the specific index. So this is the way it works. So I already, when it comes to mutable immutable concept, I already covered how to create a mutable list, how to create a immutable tuple. So I just covered these two things so that it is useful for you when it comes to mutability concept. So the basic idea behind why do you make a particular data type mutable is like mutable when you actually eliminate all the complexity of trying to change it internally, right? It if you remove all this complexity, manipulation on them becomes very easy, because all you need, it's only read only, right? You just need to either create it or delete it. These are the basic operations, right? So when it comes to performance of mutable or immutable objects, they are highly performance. So for making the strings highly performant, we any all languages have made the string objects as immutable. Oh, that's the only reason why they are made immutable. Okay. Yeah. So this is what the string operations is about. So we'll move to next topic. I think I already covered what is the list is. I think already I covered a tuple is. I hope everybody has understood it, right? So it is tuple is something Python specific. It's Python developers have felt that they want to create a immutable version of list, and they just created this one also. I just wanted to highlight another thing, like we can actually, I suppose I can create different kind of data types in a single list. Like I can do 1, 2, and I can put a string also here, and it works. And in some languages it gives an error, but here Python actually can actually store different kind of data types in a list. So this is also one way of one thing which is specific to Python only. Yeah. So let's move to next topic. So I think I covered most of the topics. Everything else is in your thing. So it's always good practice to actually run um, run each and every question, answer each and every questions asked to you. Let's move to how the conditions work. Like you already know, like if condition, right? So we have if condition as in other syntax, other programming languages. We have if condition here in Python. We have while condition, for loop also. So here is a typical example of how to actually write a uh, for loop for loop using either there are two types of for loop, right? You can use using index for looping, or you can use range for looping. In this example, right, this one, uh, in this example, like for words in words, this is a range kind of for loop. So words is a list, actually is basically a list, and you actually iterate through each and every word in the words by using this syntax for word in word. So you use a special keyword called in. Using this special keyword called in, you can actually go through each and every word. So here in this example, you can see a typical Python program. So you're taking the input. How to take the input, right? You just learned how to take the input, right? There is an input function. So input function will actually ask you to enter the file name. You just take the file name. Okay, so here we are learning a new thing, how to open a file. So to open a file, you have a simple function like open. Just open, and with different attributes as in other programming languages. In this case, R. If you give R, right, it opens a file. It opens a file with read only mode. That means you can only read the file. You cannot actually write on that file. So you have a handle of that file, and then you read all the file contents. If it is a small file, you can just say handle.read, which will actually read all the contents of the file into a variable called text. So it will work for small files, small files. If it is a large file, it may give a memory allocation problem, out of memory exception it may give. So for small files, you can just execute the command handle.read. It will just read all the text in the file into a text. So this is a typical Python program, how it works. Okay. Yeah. So we have slides for how the basic conditional operator works actually. So here here we have drawn a flow chart of how the conditional operator is actually working. Here is the program in the right side, and how it is being evaluated, you can see in the left side, right? So you have a variable assignment. This is a variable assignment, so which is in the top of the flow chart. And here we have a if condition. So we have a conditional flow chart here, conditional box here, and it has every conditional box has is evaluated to either true or false. That means yes or no. And if it is yes, it goes to the right. If it is no, it goes to the down. Because x is equal to 5, it will always go to the right, and then it will print this particular string smaller. So it will just print the smaller, right? Now, so this, just have a look into it. It's straightforward. It will help you how the execution of a program in Python actually works. So in this particular statement, you will just find out that you are going to print the smaller, and you are not going to print the string bigger, right? So finally, the output of this program will be smaller and finish. That's what you can see in the output, right? So that is how the program flow works. You can just go through this program flow, and it is very straightforward. You should be able to understand it. Yeah. So you have different kind of comparison operator: less than or equal to, double equal to, greater than equal to, greater than not equal to. So these are the operators supported in Python. Okay. So these are other cases of how you can actually use, how can you use the greater than, less than operators, greater than operator in the if, along with the if condition. So syntax of if condition, you must always remember, this is the typical syntax of if statement in Python. So if a particular expression evaluates to true, followed by a colon. So this is the syntax of if followed by expression, followed by colon. And whatever statements we need to write inside the if should always be intended little bit more intended. So in this case, you put more intended in before the print, and it will come under the if statement. So that is the way the comparison operator along with if works. Okay. So here is an example of multiple statements under one particular if condition. So in this case, this is the if condition, and these are the three statements under if. And this particular statement is not coming under if, because it is having equal indentation as the if statement. So it will print irrespective of the if statement is true or false, it will just print it. So this is the way how the indentation works. So this will help you actually learn how to write coding. Just keep in mind, when you actually do a Python coding, whether it is in interview or in your personal learning, make sure that the indentations are always correct. Python is very strict about indentation. So put your hands on and try to code, and you will learn how the indentation works in Python. Okay. Yeah. So you can see that what is the output of this particular program. You can see the output of the program is before 5. That means is 5, is still 5, and so on, right? Yeah. So I already explained you what is indentation. So increase indentation after an if statement or a for statements. So that's basic idea. If you want to run a set of instructions under if or for condition, you have to always increase the indentation after the if statements. So which statement you want to run under the if statement? If you want to run the statement under the first statement, you have to just increase indentation, and those statements will run under that particular indentation. Okay. Yeah, so it's always a good practice to not use tabs. Don't use tabs, use spaces only. Most editors can run tabs into spaces, but few editors may not understand what is the tab is. So always preferred to use spaces instead of tabs. Okay, otherwise in the editor, enable this particular feature as mentioned. The enable if you are running in a specific editor which doesn't convert the tabs into spaces, you can just enable the feature which is specific to that particular editor. In Notepad++, it is under preferences and language menu tab. In text Wrangler, it is here. and in other programming IDs, it may be something else. Okay, but if you are okay, you just use um, spaces to actually you use indentation. And most of the programming languages, program which supports Python, whenever you press enter, uh, hello, yeah. So in most of the programming languages, it automatically helps you with indentation. If it identifies that you are writing programming Python, it automatically helps you in indentation. And most of the programming languages intelligent in itself to identify how much indentation to put. Okay. Okay. So here are some of the examples of how you can think about adding indentation, how you can actually assume that it is the end of a particular block, or if when are you starting the block, when are you ending the block. So just think about that, and based upon that, you apply the appropriate indentation. Indentation is what decides whether a particular statement is inside a block or whether it is outside a block. Okay. Yeah, as in other programming languages, you have nested decisions also. If so, here is a typical example of having a if inside if. So here is one of the example. Just go through it. So it's just to brush up all your programming skill sets. So how you can, if you want to put if inside if, you can just put it like this. So if else, so we have similarly we have if else condition in Python. You might be knowing that. So just go through it. Okay. So similarly, there are other concepts also. I will actually encourage to go through these slides, which will help you by looking into it quickly. If you will be able to recollect how you can actually code in Python. This will help you to actually speed up your programming when you are actually facing interview, right? You don't have time, so you put your hands on and just go through these slides and use this particular concept and type it in your in online editor in your Jupyter, and just practice it. So by practicing it, right, you will be able to code it very fastly. You will so that at real time you can actually, either it is an interview or in real time production, where you have real time requirement of acting very fast. So when you are hands on, right, you can actually immediately code in the given time slot, right? So please practice, please have go through these each and every slide, though they look very trivial, very basic, but I encourage you to actually put your hands on, try to code it, try to code line by line, and put everything in your, at least this basic syntax of if, for, loop, and all those things should be there in your memory, so that you can just go and just type very fast. It should be in your memory, in your subconscious mind, what I would say. So if once it comes in your subconscious mind, right, you will be very confident to face any real-time situation. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now please go through each and every topic. So here we have a typical scenario of how a computer looks like, right? We have a block diagram of how a computer device looks like. You can see a typical computer will have an input device, it will have a output device. So input device will give input to the computer, output device will take input from the computer, right? So this is a typical example of a computer, how a typical basic computer looks like, right? So computer will be having a CPU and a main memory. So this is all it takes to have a simple basic computer, right? The concept of secondary memory. Sometimes the main memory, to run a program, the main memory is not sufficient. Then we have some concept of secondary memory, using which we can increase our memory space and run the program. So this is a typical example of a computer. Yep. Yeah, so we haven't learned about try catch exception, right? Other languages also have try and catch syntax. Here also we have try and except syntax. Okay, so try exception syntax also follows a typical indentation format. Whatever are more whose indentation is more then the try indentation, then all those comes under try block. So in this case, you can see that these three statements are coming under try block, and followed by a try, we can have an optional except, and except will all the statements under more indentation, the except comes under except block. Okay. So you can see that here, simple try, if you are trying to convert a particular input raw str to integer, and if you are giving a wrong integer, then it will throw an exception which will be caught in the except block, and we will initialize it to -1, right? So this is an example of how you can handle a particular exception in Python. So this is the way you actually handle an exception in Python. Okay. Yeah. So this is what basics of Python. How we have learned about how to write for loop, how to write if else. So sorry, not for loop. How to write if else. How to write how does indentation work in Python? How does try catch work in Python? So these are the things we have learned. We have learned about nested ifs also, and we'll try to use these particular learnings in the upcoming sessions. Okay, so I think we already did this uh, type homework already. Now let's move to, so there is like, okay, this is not, so there are some extra operations also, like in other operations also. Here also we have some extra operations. Star is for exponentiation. Modulo operator is for modulo, to find the remainder of a particular two values, divisor and the dividend. You use modulo operator like this, and you use power operator, exponential operator with double star. So in this case, 8 double star 2 is equal to 64, means 8 square. This is nothing but 8 square. So to do 8 square in Python, use double star. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so these are all basics of Python. Though it looks very simple, we have to go through it one by one so that we make ourselves familiar. I would actually highly recommend, please go through uh, each and every chapter and try to answer the questions as you go on. Okay. So these are all about guessing the types. Guessing the types. Last time we already last time we already gone through functions. I will again go through the function. How do we write a function? So the basic syntax of function is to use def. Okay. So this slide is about inbuilt function, right? How to call a inbuilt function. So we will go through how to create our own function, which is called user defined functions. It will come in the next slide. Okay, so here is an example. So I'll take a break, try to run this particular instructions, right? So basically you are supposed to write a function, pay calculator, which calculates the payment to be made on an employee. Okay, so can you all guys actually spend some 5 minutes of time to run this particular code by yourself? Okay, I will wait for actually 2 minutes. Please run through these particular instructions and make it working and submit the answer. I will wait for 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, please try to run try to create a function of your own, and in the right side of your Jupyter. Okay. So I hope you have written the function, or shall I wait for some time? Pranav, Pranav, have you have you started writing the function, please? Hi, hi. Have you guys written the function? Hi, Shankar. Yeah. So I
Yes, sir.
hope.
That
Yeah.
is yeah, Python calculator, right?
Yeah, yeah. Please, please write the function. Try to write the function. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will wait for another 2 minutes. Please write the function. It will help you put your hands on. Okay, I hope you guys have already wrote the function, and just type the function and try to evaluate yourself. Okay. If you face any problem or if you are not able to write, it's okay. You can learn it by seeing the answer, but that will actually reduce your score. Um, so this is the function that is expected to be written. Here you have created a function. The syntax of the function, as you might already seen, it starts with def, followed by the function name, followed by the input parameters, right? So input parameters are sent by calling the function with the appropriate data types. Now this is the syntax of if. Again, if condition, if follows with the if keyword, followed by expression, and followed by colon. Okay. Now you calculate the extra hours, you calculate the extra rate, and then you calculate the total pay. So this is how it works. Now once you have the total pay, you return the total pay here. So if it is greater than 40, this is the calculation of the total pay. And if you are less than 40, this is the calculation for the total pay. So once you calculate the total pay, you return the total pay. So by returning the total pay, wherever the function is called, the returned value is the returned value will come. The total pay will be given there. Now this function will print you the total pay based upon the pay calculator function. So this is the function actually. So once now you have learned how we write a function, how to write a function. with the questions specifically asked. You have used if condition and different calculations, mathematical calculations, to fulfill the business logic of pay calculator. You calculated it and you are printing the output result in the last, and you are by calling the function. This is called function call and this is called function definition. You define the function in the top and you actually call the function in the bottom. So that is the answer for this particular question. Okay, this will help you hands-on how to write a typical Python function and help you understand the syntax of writing Python function and its specific if conditions, if else condition. Okay, okay, great. So now we know about the functions. Let's so we will not go through each and every question now, but I would actually ask you to answer all questions, like try to visit all these questions and try to answer them. So it will hardly take 1 to 2 hours. So just spend on the weekend, spend 1 to 2 hours and brush up your all Python skills. Okay. So we will skip all other questions, try to do it as a homework and complete them. And it will help you to self-learn and evaluate yourself and see how you are, where you are in Python. So these are the fundamentals of Python. Once you learn this Python by putting your hands on, you will be having real-time expertise, real-time hands-on on the Python programming languages. Okay. So just go through this. We already discussed about try, except, block, and how it works, right? So here there are some try specific questions. Just answer this try catch specific questions and see how where you are in the concepts of try catch block. Yeah, so these are the questions about input type, length, and so on. Just try to follow these instructions and try to answer them. This lab will help you to self evaluate yourself and you will get the results immediately. Okay. Okay, so we have some concept like we know how to define a function, right? But here is the question of whether you can create a function that does not take any parameter or argument. Yeah, we can create a function. Yeah, so that's the answer for it. So similarly, try to answer as many questions as possible. Answer all of them and get yourself hands-on expertise in Python. Okay. So we already had used many functions, built-in functions. You know what is a built-in function is? We already used a function called type. There are many built-in functions in Python. So it's as much as you can learn, right? So these are other built-in functions as an example that we have given to you. Just try to learn them. Okay. So what is output of this, or what is output of this? You can just type this particular instruction here and see what is the output. So min of Python, it returns, which return h, right? So you can say, okay. Okay, I think this is new thing in Python 3. Let's see how it is, how this particular things are. It's an array, max of array elements. Let's see how it works. Oh, I think my Jupyter got stuck. You can actually restart your kernel. So this I think it's a kernel problem, or let's see if I get list. Yeah, it's my kernel problem. So basically I'm not getting output, right? So if you are stuck in saying that you are not getting an output in the kernel, you probably have to just restart your kernel. So there is a restart option here. You try to restart your kernel, then probably after restarting it should actually work. Okay, see, now it is working. Okay, Now see max of Python here, it results maximum value. It actually compares all of them and try to find return the max of in the available range in the list. So similarly now before Python, min of Python did work. Now it should work. So here H is the minimum of all the characters. It actually looks into each and every character of the string and returns the minimum of all the character Python. So similarly, there are many other inbuilt functions. You just go through it and try to follow these instructions. Calculate the length of Codex lab. To calculate length, you can just type length function. If you don't know the answer, you can just evaluate here by typing the length of CloudX lab. It is 9. So you can just enter the 9 here. Similarly, try to follow these questions and try to answer them in the brackets and submit the answer. You should be able to evaluate yourself whether you are evaluating correct or not. Okay, so this is about built-in functions. Yeah, so one of the most commonly used is random number generator. Random number generator is in the module random, inbuilt module random. You can actually get a random number by this function random. You can see the live by typing this. So this time it gave you a random number 0.769 something. Okay, so next time you actually can run, it will give a new number. It gives you 0.53, right? So this is inbuilt function to generate a random number. So it gives a random floating number from range from 0 to 1. Between 0 to 1, some number gives you, which is generally used in many problems. Okay. So you just go through this, try to run these instructions and see how it goes. For example, this for loop, what is the output of this for loop, right? So a range of 10 numbers. So from range of 10 numbers is nothing but you can imagine it will iterate 10 times, right? So it will iterate 10 times and it will generate random numbers 10 times. And each time you see a random number getting generated. Okay. So now follow this instruction and generate a random number. This is a homework for you. You can actually run this. I would actually run this and try to see whether you are able to convert a random number into int or not. How do you convert? It is a homework for you. Just try to answer this question and see whether you are able to answer it correctly or not. Okay. So this is about random inbuilt function. Okay, we already covered how this topic is about how we are making your own function. You can make your own function as we already defined before. Like this is how we actually create your own function, and this is the syntax we already discussed about it. Okay. Okay, now we have covered making the function, flow of execution, parameters execution, types of functions. Okay. Yeah, so some functions does not return anything, right? So such functions are called void functions. If you are expert in other languages, you already know what is void function. Here also it is the same, but here you explicitly need not mention that it is a void function or something like that. If a function doesn't return anything, it is a void function. It is as simple as that in Python. And if it returns something, it is a function which returns that particular data type. You do not explicitly define it in function declaration. You just return it and it will assume that it is a function type of which returns something, right? So these are the different kind of functions. Okay, so just go through these instructions one by one. So if possible, go through it now itself. I think.
Anil, I
Yep.
have one query here.
Mhm.
So when we are defining the functions, we are not declaring any data type for the parameters, correct? So,
Yes.
so it will take automatically by the Python itself, or how?
Yeah,
Whether
it
it is
depends
int
upon.
or whether it is integer kind of.
Yeah, when you actually send a parameter, right? So when you send the parameter, you actually send the parameter with the integer type, right? So it is not Python compilation is little bit lenient. It assumes based upon the operations that we do inside the function and the values that we actually send at runtime, right? So at runtime when you send, then it assumes that data type automatically, right? Now, even not
Okay.
in Python. So here, if you say, as you already said, that while you declare also, it's not only in the function. While you declare a simple variable also, you say a is equal to 2, then it assumes that, for example, a is equal to 2, it assumes that a is of data type integer, right? Now you can check the type of variable like a. Then it assumes
Okay.
that a
So
is a
in that
type.
case, in one line of code, I am writing, I'm assigning the integer to that variable. In
Uh-huh.
another line of code, I am assigning the string to that same variable, like a equal to 2. Another one is a equal to some first program kind of string I'm giving.
Uh-huh.
So in that case,
Mhm.
when the line of code is executing, so
Okay. So
latest assignment will take it up,
mhm.
or
Yeah, let's execute it down only. That will actually make things simplify. So in this case, let's say multiplication, you actually create it as a string. Okay. Uh, it is a string. Okay. Then you say that afterwards, after that, you actually assign it a different value. Suppose again, you say the same multiplication again, and you say it as 2, right? So this is the
yeah,
question, right? Now let's
yeah.
see what happens. Huh? Now see what happens. Now let's actually print also. Let's see whether it gives a error or what. Okay. Now let's see. Let's execute it. So it works, right? So it is not strongly typed. So once you actually declare it as a string, then later the same variable can be again changed to run as an integer variable. That's the way. It doesn't give any compilation error. It is not an error at all in Python language.
So it is taking the latest value.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Thanks, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's actually. So this is what like we can just run in the editor and see how it works. So in other languages, this definitely will give an error because they are strongly typed. Here you can see that it is not strongly typed, right? You can actually change the types. Okay. Let's go to next then. So this is a very good question. This is what is typical happening only in Python and few other very rare languages. In general, object-oriented other programming languages like C Sharp, Java, definitely it will give error. Okay. Next, let's go to other next statement. So we have types of functions already. So input, we have already gone through input also. And let's try to see what new we can learn now. Yeah, comments, we know comments, we know Boolean expressions, logical operators, we've gone through conditional executions, if else conditions, we have gone through catching exceptions, try except, right? Yeah, so it is about try except, how try except works in Python. Catching expression is done through except. In Java or C Sharp, it is like catch exception. Here it is except exception, and so on. Yeah. Yeah, let's see about while loop. Okay, it's a question. While loop runs until the condition provided is false. Is it true or false? Right? You can just answer it. So until the condition provided is true, right? But it is saying that it is false. So it is false, I think so, right? Run while loop runs until the condition is false. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you know about break statement. Let's see the syntax of break statement. I think it's not there here. We already covered it, right? Yeah. So if let's see the syntax of break statement like in typical for loop, right? So we can actually type it here only, right? For I equal to 0, maybe like we can try it. Okay. Mhm. Let's see how the break works. Okay. So print okay. Hmm. Hmm. Mhm. For I is equal to 0. I forgot the first syntax actually. Like, so this is what we forget the syntax, right? So you have to see. Mhm. So instead of if yes, we can have, we always have range. Huh? No, no, no. Actually, there is some other syntax. Okay, we'll use range.
Anil, use that range format actually.
Yeah, but
Instead of for I is equal to less than, that should not be executed in Python. We should use that range.
okay. Mhm.
For I in range of 5 or I in range of 10.
Yeah.
10.
Okay. So, mm, okay. So have I have a for statement with break for 5 only. So it executes only for up to 5, though we have a range of 10. This is how the break works. At least we have to remember the syntax of break. Okay. Yeah. So we know that this is now based upon it, we can actually answer the this particular statement, how the break statement works. Okay. Yeah, so these are the few questions whether infinite loops are possible in Python or not. Okay, so this is a statement we were trying to do, right? Uh, for x in range, print x. So it is actually printing from this particular range. Okay, we can answer that question. Okay, now let's move to while. While syntax is something like this. So while is followed by a file is followed by a specific condition, and all the statements which are under the higher intent than while come under a single block which will be executed. So here, in this case particular thing, right, you can see a is initialized to 1, A is less than, condition is A, until A is less than or equal to 5, A will be incremented, A is equal to A plus 1. So till A is equal to 6, this while loop will be executed. Then we'll print A is crossed and output of the A will be 6, right? So this is the way we actually run while execution. The while is also the same syntax. It ends with colon, like for also it ends with colon, if also ends with colon. Everything in Python, like for, if, while, everything ends with a colon. So this is the syntax of while loop. Okay. Now this evaluation is always a true, always evaluates to true or false statements, which is like T, capital F or FALC or capital T R U E, right? Yeah, so that's what this particular thing explains. Actually, this everything is how this particular statement is executing. That is what we are explaining in here completely. Now we just need to follow these instructions. Okay, so here instruction asks you to define a specific function sum and try to do this particular try to follow this instruction and try to execute it, right? So in real-time interview questions, there will be much more complicated questions to you, but every complicated questions can be decoded with small simpler questions. So try to answer these questions and get yourself um, more closer to the language syntax and how to execute this, how to solve the problems. Try to read this question and how solve the problem. This will hand evaluate yourself whether you are able to answer it correctly or not. Okay. Yep. So we have gone through while loop. Okay, now here it comes. What is the for loop? How to use the for loop? Okay. So the for loop, typical syntax of for loop. This is the typical syntax of for loop. Yep. We already seen that for loop and how the break works in for loop. We have seen that. So I think we also, let's see whether we have continue in for loop or not. We can just check that. Okay. Now let's execute a for instruction and see how continue works. Continue is like once a condition is met, then it will not execute any instructions afterwards. So in this case, right? Okay, you guys say what will be the output of this function? Anyone can anyone say what is the answer of this particular function? If continue is there, okay, let me execute it. So it is the same thing, right? So for example, let's say 5 I is equal to 5. Let's see what's the output. So you can see that it executes all, it prints all except the value 5, right? It doesn't print 5 because we are saying that if I is equal to 5, continue, means don't execute any instructions after 5, which is print, it doesn't execute. But if the same thing is happened here, for example here, it will execute only up to 4. If it will execute 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and come out. That's it. It will not print 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see that. So it will execute 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and come out. But here it will execute all values, but except it will not print 5. It will print all the numbers except 5. So that is the difference between break and continue in for loop. Okay. Same break and continue can work for while loop also. You can use the same syntax for while loop. Just trying to brush up your programming skills. Okay. Yep. So this is about for loop and while loop and so on. Yeah, so we already covered strings. So there is something called string slices. String slice. So you can read it. So a segment of a string is called slice. You can print a substring, some sort of straight substring by seeing that. Let's see this. Let's everybody learn what it is. Okay. So it actually prints from 1 to 5. So CloudX is more than 5, is a word more than 5 characters. So if you do this, right, what happens is it will print from index 1 through 5. So it will just print LOUD. It will 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will print from 0 to less than 5. So it will not print the 5, right? So that is how it actually slices it out. Okay. So have a look into it, read this, and try to solve this particular instruction. You can define a function slicing function, and it should print the result after slicing the string without mentioning the first and second elements. Okay, so there are a lot of things we can do with Python. It is a simple problem which actually helps you to write a simple function which would do the slicing. Please run through this particular instructions and try to execute it. Okay. Yeah, already covered immutability of the string. You might be knowing what is immutable string. Okay. So what exactly is immutable string? You will just try to learn. So as I have mentioned before, that's what we are actually trying to, we have written that in words. So the concept of immutability of string and what exactly that, why are strings immutable in Python and other programming languages, we already discussed it. Just have a look into it. They are only read only, you cannot modify them, as you can see that. Yep. In operator, you already gone through in operator in for loop. String methods, what are the different string methods? We already gone through it. Again, let's see. So string methods. Okay, so this is only few topics that we are going to cover. There are a lot of many other things to learn in Python. Just to put our uh, try to know basics of operations, we are just putting few functions here. Now you can see that you can just execute this statement and see how the dir function works, right? So it says, it gives you all the methods, list of all methods associated with the object, right? So these are all so this is object is of type string. So what are the methods that you can actually call? So you can see that you can call these many objects actually, out of which, so these are the functions, and these are the reserved variables. You can actually use these also, and you can usually use these also. Is alpha num, is decimal, is digit. These are all the functions that you can use, right, with respect to this particular variable type. So this variable is of type string. So with string operation, you can do all these things. Okay, let's try with integer type. Let's say now a is an integer, and a is an integer. Let's see dir of a. No, let's see what the output is. So for integers, we can have big length, conjugate, denominator, from bytes, image, numerator, real. These are the functions associated with integers. And these are the functions that are associated with string, right? Try to, so this is a powerful, this looks like a powerful function, right? What are all operations that you can do on a particular data type? If you want to identify what all you can do, you can just type dir and you will get all the types. What you can do, you can just dig deeper by taking help of each and everything. Let's see what it does. Help of way of translate. Okay. Okay, it works only for string type. So because it is in translate is in string, right? But a is integer now, so translate will not work here. If you make a is a as a string again, my name is Anil. I will put it as string, and now I'll take help of your translate now. So it will give you help of how what the translate actually works. So you will get online help immediately. What you can do with this one. Suppose you have a variable and you don't know what to do with it. Means like you want to do what is the exact function you need to do. Then you can just take the help by combination of dir and translate. So it is like a online instant helper for you. And that immediately you can get what functions you need to, what functions you have to actually perform operations on that particular data type. Okay, let's see if it works for a list also. So let's see, let's create a list. So let's create a list. So, and here let's see the dir of a now. So for list also you have these many functions. On a list you can append, you can clear, you can copy, you can count, extend, index. These are functions on the list. Okay. Similarly on tuples, what would be the function? Okay, for tuple we have limited things. So we have count and you have index. It's a read only. You cannot perform anything more on tuple. So these are the different operations that you can perform on a tuple, right? So you can just get help by combination of dir and translate. You can just say translate as it mentioned. You can say, you can take help of a dot index. So it will give you what the index does on. So this is this is the operation that you can do on a. A is of type tuple. Okay, so this way you can identify runtime. You can get help on what operations can be done on a particular data type. So this looks like a very uh, powerful feature to learn in Python, right? Yep. Okay, now we have covered what is a dir, what is tuple under the topic string methods. String methods, parsing a string. Okay, let's look into parsing a string. Yeah, so basically this is most commonly used. Parsing is very important. So like whether you want to find the index of a particular substring, in this case, whether you want to find only the name, you have to remove, you want to remove the domain, or you want to find the index of a domain. So there are different operations that you can do. So here we are demonstrating the find function. So you can identify the position of a particular substring by using the function data.find. So this is the way it works, right? So just look into the syntax. You can just run them. Here Cloudx Lab will help you learn on dynamically on run basis and see immediately you can see the output. Okay, let's just print position. So position is 7. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So the position of @gmail is 7 here. Okay. So try to solve this homework. So I will take 1 to 2 minutes of time for you. Just try to read this particular function, read these particular instructions, and try to solve this particular problem and see if you are trying to answer the question or not. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, so Rick, you have solved it, right?
No, I haven't. No,
Okay, okay. So
yeah,
just,
yeah, no, I haven't. No.
okay. Yeah, just spend 1 to 2 minutes of time to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now if you solve this problem, then it will actually very helpful for remembering. So if you are actually solving the problem right now itself, then you can actually learn and actually you can remember the syntax, and then you can feel that you are really learning the program. So just try to solve this problem. If you try to attempt it without looking into the hint and solve it. Okay, once you solve it right, you will be more comfortable with the language, syntax, and so on. Though it looks very trivial, actually it is very trivial. Only thing is like you need to have a hands-on on this particular language syntax. That is the only thing that will help in writing the program, getting more comfortable with the program, right? That is the only way we can actually learn a typical programming language. In this case, Python. Okay, then let's move to next topic. Okay. Yeah, so format operation, list operation. So format is basically on strings we can do. Okay, this format is different, right? So you know slash percentage d percentage f and other syntax, right? So similarly here also we have different formatting syntaxes. So percentage d is basically for integer. Even in .NET and Java, it is also for percentage d is for integers only. So here you can see in this particular typical case, right? So percentage d here it is integer, percentage g is for floating point integer, percentage s is for string. So try to just execute this, you will see like what happens. Okay. Yeah, so it looks very trivial, but you need to put your hands on. So here we are trying to create a string with using the formatting syntax. The syntax is a string, typical string, which starts with the starts and ends with double quotes, followed by syntax of formatting the string, which is like percentage, followed by a tuple kind of syntax, followed by tuple where you can give um, uh, the different data type different data of different data types. So here you have given integer, floating type value, and a string as input to format the string, and you can just print the formatted string and see the output. So this is the way how you can actually, this is an example of how you can format a particular string using percentage d, percentage z, and so on, right? So here output, you can just type the output. So here, let's see, is print percentage f, percentage s is a valid Python statement or not? Whether it is true or not. Just check it out. So it is a valid Python statement. It is not giving you any error. It is just printing percentage f as it is. If it doesn't find any formatting instructions, it just prints that particular value as it is. So it is a valid statement, right? So you can just type to here. And here percentage d plus 3 percentage 3, I think it will give you 3 plus 3, right? It will give 3 plus 3. You can just double check it. It gives 3 plus 3. So output is 3 plus 3. Similarly, print of percentage bursary. So it is floating. You are giving a number for percentages and integer for percentage, string for percentage d. So let's check whether it's a valid Python string or not. So you are interchanging the data types. Let's imagine what would happen. So it percentage d, it is expecting a integer, right? You cannot convert. I think it should be a error, right? Or it will just ignore the format. It will just ignore maybe like. So it gives an error, right? It is because it is syntax error. You are trying to put a integer into a string and string into an integer format. So you doesn't know how to put how it cannot convert a string to an integer. So it will give an error. So it is a invalid Python statement, right? You can just type and submit the answer. Okay. We have already gone through lists. We'll again look into it. So this is the syntax of creating a list, right? So list, as I already mentioned, list you can actually store different kind of data types. It starts with the square brackets and ends with a closing square bracket. You can actually put a list inside a list. So in Python, you can actually put any data type in a list. So this is a typical example of a list. Okay. So this is about list. So you know that lists are mutable. We have already gone through it. So we are comparing list versus string, right? So okay, so here you can see that a typical example of adding a list, right? So this is a very simple way, like people of .NET or Java can find it very simple, right? You are just adding a list by just doing a plus b. A is a list and b is equal to a list, and you just say c plus c is equal to a plus b, and you concatenate the list. Let's see how it works. So you can see that it is as simple as adding two variable types and you are appending all the values into a separate list C, right? So this is good thing like you learn in Python. So very easy. It's very easy to add two lists. Okay, so this is another simple example how it works. It multiplies each and every value of the list to 3. Let's say 3 now. Okay, so it is repeating 1 2 3 1 2 3 and 1 2 3 is repeating 3 times. Once you say into 3, multiplying a 3 times. Okay. Now this is something like slicing a list. You can actually slice on a list. So it will print all values. Yeah, it will take all values from index number 2, that is 3, till less than 5, like till 4, like 3 2 3 4. I think the output will be 3 4 5. So output will be 3 4 5. This is the example, typical example of how you can actually slice a string. So just remember the syntax of how to slice a string. It's very simple in Python. You can just put semicolon with the index. So it will slice the list from index 2 to less than 5, right? So this is how you actually slice a string. You can actually assign also. This is a typical, very wonderful example. Like numbers starting from 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 is the initial list. Once you say range from 2 to 5, the values are 7 4 9. That means 3 4 5 will change back to 7 4 9. So output will be 1 2 7 4 9 6 7 8 9. right? You can just print the value again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will change back to 7, 4, 9, and output is 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a typical example of list, how to manipulate on the list, right? So these are the things which we typically in Python, how can we work on Python specific list type data types, right? It is a very simple syntax, right? The same instructions when it comes to other languages like C# or Java, it's little bit lot of instructions you have to write, right? So, but in Python, it is very simple. Okay, so lot of things in list can be manipulated very easily. Yep, so these are list operations. We have gone through list operations. So list versus string, list and strings. These are, I think this is typically to. So here, see here, we are converting a string to list, right? So this is a built-in function in Python. So you see that you are initialize a string and you are creating a string from the list. So you are creating a list from the string. So just let's print what it does. Let's clear this all. Okay. Okay, let's see what it does. Okay. So you have successfully created a string to a list of characters, right? So it is as simple as using a built-in function list, right? List of s. It will just convert it into a list of characters. Okay, so it is something like, I think in Java it is like 2-char array, 2-char array or something like that. This is the function in Java, but here it is a simple function list of s. Okay, so split. So similarly, we have split by default. I think it takes spaces parameter, so it splits the strings. Let's see how it works. So it actually used place as a delimiter and split it into multiple words. So I am learning Python in CloudX Lab is divided into multiple words. So it has divided into 6 words totally. So this is the way how you can actually split a string. Okay, split a string creates a list of strings, actually list of strings. Okay. So here I think you are using strings as s dot split am. So it's a new thing. Okay. So it is using am as a parameter. So let's see. So what it is doing here? Split am is has output like am learning Python as code loaders. What has happened here? It has used am as a delimiter here. So using am as a delimiter, it divided the whole string into 2 parts. I, which is left of am, I space, I and space, and then right of am is am learning Python as Cloudx as the second parameter. Suppose we have 2 ams in the string. For example, there is another am here. Let's see how it works. So it has divided into 3 strings now. I learning Python and then at CloudX Labs. It divided into 3 parameters now. You can see that, right? So that is the functionality of split. Actually takes am as something as a delimiter. In this case, am as a delimiter. If you don't send any parameter, then it will take spaces as the default delimiter. In this case, it has taken space as the default delimiter and divided into a string of 6 words. Okay, so that is how split works in Python. Yeah, so that's what delimiter is that. Okay, so there is something called delimiter dot join. So you can actually again join back SP and then print them also. So I think it will join all the elements in the list with the given delimiter AM and print it. Okay. And it will recreate the string I am learning Python at CloudX Lab. Okay. Okay, so let's quickly go through dictionaries. So in dictionaries, initializing a dictionary is also pretty simple. So basically dictionary can be as simple as like this. So this is a dictionary in Python. So it is an empty dictionary that you are declaring. Okay. So tuples, we have already gone through tuples. We have initialized the tuple already here. We have seen tuples. Tuples are immutable. We know that tuples are immutable. We have already discussed about it. We already covered it. Tuples are efficient, more efficient by default because they are immutable. They are we can perform. They are highly performant because of their immutable characteristics. Okay. Now we have also discussed about dictionary. Let's see what operations we can do in dictionary. Okay. So this is a typical empty dictionary. And if you want to fill the dictionary, you can just say like this. This is an example of filling a dictionary with key value. Dictionary is a set of key value pairs. So you can initialize different key value pair here like this. Dictionary is equal to something like this. And you can print all the items of the dictionary by a single command dictionary.items. You can sort the dictionary, which will sort according to their key values. Like sorted of key dictionary will give you a sorted dictionary, something like this. Yeah. So if you want to sort instead of keys, there is a way to actually sort instead of sort by values instead of keys. This is a typical example of how you can do. Okay, so let's discuss about it. Okay, so let's see. C is a dictionary. Actually, C is a dictionary having keys A, B, C. List. You are creating a temporary list here. Now you are going through each and every key value pair in the dictionary, and you are appending into the list. You are appending into the list like value key pair. This is the simple trick. Actually, we are trying to sort the values, right? So we are creating a list of key value pairs with value key pairs, and then we see that they are actually an array of list with value key pairs. And then now you can actually print, you can sort the list by, okay, so you can sort the list. If you want to sort in descending order, you can send it as reverse is equal to 2. So this is a typical example of how you can actually sort a dictionary in reverse order based upon their values instead of their keys. So this is a simple example. I hope you understand it. It is easy to understand, but you have to remember how you can do this. So you have to remember the syntax here. So basically, to get all the items of a dictionary, the syntax is items, which gives you a range of all the values of the dictionary. And then here you have you know that you have a sort function for a list, which will sort according to the key values, in ascending order. Okay. Yep. Okay, so here is another one example of file handle. How you know how to open a file? You can open a file using open function, given the file name here, file name with full path or just the file name. If the file name is there in the current directory, you can just open it. And you create a dictionary. You are creating a dictionary by using this syntax, and then you are going through each and every line in the file. You are splitting the lines to words. Split will take space as default parameter. You have word for each and every line, And for each and every line, you have a counts dictionary. So counts of for that particular word, you are actually counting the words here. You are just incrementing the word count and storing it into the dictionary counts. So for this particular word, you are storing a word count dictionary actually. So for this particular word, what is the count? You are just storing in the counts dictionary. Okay. So this is the way how you are actually calculating the count of each and every word in a given file text. This is an example of how we are calculating the count of words in each count of each and every word in the particular file. So finally, you are doing that actually here. And finally, you are trying to, as you have seen in the previous example, we are using the same thing. We are storing it in reverse order, and we are printing the word count in reverse order. So we are printing the words which are having maximum count first, and we are printing the words which are having the lowest count last. So we are printing the words in descending order of their number of occurrences in the text. That is what this whole function is doing. So you can actually execute this particular whole set of statements in your editor if you have a text called romeo.txt, and in this particular text you can type as many words as possible, and you will finally find a dictionary of, you will find, you will print each and every word in that particular file, and it counts in its count in descending order. So that's what it does. You can just study this code and understand that what it does, right? Try to execute in your editor and see, try to create a file, right? So you know how to create a file, right? You can just create a file here itself. You can actually create a file.
Anil, in this editor, if you're writing this code,
Yeah.
so how it will find that particular file actually? Because
Yeah,
you said that is a current directory, right?
yeah. So we have console alone, right? I'm not able to see the console. I'm not going to. So we should be able to go to the console. There should be console editor. Where is it? So we should go to the console editor. Let me find it. Let me refresh. So for you also, you're not getting any console editor? Okay, I got it. See, so you have console editor right here. So this is a Jupyter notebook. We already have a console editor here. So let's go to the console editor.
Because we can have a file in our, I mean, desktop or
Yeah.
D
So
drive.
yeah. So we to see the dictionary file, right? You go to the console editor. This notebook actually is running in foundation of Python folder notebook, right? So by default, you can just see what files you have here. Okay. So you are in CloudX Jupyter notebook. These are the files you have, right? You can create your own file. Okay. So let's say we can create a sample.txt. Now you have created sample.txt. Now let's type something. Okay. Let's say you create, VIM, right? Now you can type anything here. .net. Okay. And you can actually save this. Now you have sample.txt, right? Now you can see which directory you are, right? So this is your complete directory, right? So you can refer to this particular sample.txt by typing /home/this one sample.txt. Okay. Now you have the entire path, right? Now you can use this path, and in your notebook, you can just open it. I think it should work, right? Now you have F open equal to open. It should
Anil,
work.
if we have the file in our directory, means what? How can we give C drive like that? That path, the exact path we can give, or
Yeah, if you are working in Windows environment, you can give the complete path. If it is Windows environment, it will be typically in C drive, some complete path you can give, like C
okay.
drive, something like that. In Windows Linux environment, you can give the Linux specific path. In this case, you can just open with the complete path home and but with sample.txt. It
Okay,
will
it's a kind of environment variable path, correct? Correct? Am I right?
yes,
If
yes,
it is, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So now you can open this file like this and follow. So, so you can use the online Java, Jupyter editor itself. Here only you can run all this. You can create file here and you can work on this notebook here. Okay. So tuples, dictionary. Okay, so we learned about dictionary, right? So we learned about how to handle a dictionary. I hope you understand it. Just let me know if you have understood this particular set of instructions. You understood it, right? I think you all guys have understood it, how to works on dictionary. Just so dictionary is like hash map or something like that in other languages, and you will find it very useful, very much used in when you actually try to write a program. Somewhere you will come to the requirement of running a dictionary, creating a dictionary. So lists and dictionary are very commonly used. Just put your hands on. So if you are able to understand this code, then I think you are good to go with solving any kind of problems related to dictionary or list. So just look into it. Okay. So I'll again reiterate this particular instructions. So this particular one line will open a file called file with file name romeo.txt. Okay. And it will provide a handle of it. And to iterate through each and every line of the file, you have to run this particular for statement. So for each line inside this f hand, for each line, you are trying to split that particular line using this particular line is particular expression. Line dot split will split each and every line and put it in words. And this word for each and every word in the words, our words is basically a list of words, right? So this list of words for each and every words, you are counting, you are creating a dictionary and you are incrementing the dictionary value. So dictionary count of word, you are incrementing to get dictionary of word to 0. So here you can see that if you don't have any key with the name word, then it will initialize it to 0. So this is what it is. Count of get of word of 0. If count of get of word is null, then it will return 0. It will just return, if it is null, it will return 0. And it will increment it to 1. So count of word will be 1 now. That's what it is does. Finally, we are creating a dictionary of word. We are creating a dictionary of word and initializing using that dictionary of word to sort. So here you are actually sorting the count dictionary set of all words and printing it in this descending order. So that is how it is working. So try to run this program. Try to run this program, and we are good to go. So we have covered basic fundamental data types and data structures of Python. Yeah, so there are many other data structures which we might want to learn. Feel free to learn after you learn the basics. Just put your hands on the basics, and later, based upon your problem statements, whether you want to manipulate on JSON values. If you want to manipulate on JSON values, there is a way in Python. So that's a different data type you have to come across with. Maybe you want to use a inbuilt JSON library in Python to convert serialize into JSON values or something like that. Or so there are advanced data types also in Python, but these particular topics will help you cover the basics data type, work on basic data types, and writing as many programs in Python using these data structures will make you expert in Python. So you'll feel comfortable in Python. Once you feel comfortable with fundamentals of Python, you can actually learn more and more, go to advanced topics of Python. Yeah. So this is about the uh, Python. Just go through this again once and try to solve all the problems. It will take another 2 hours based upon your speed. Try to solve all the problems and it will help you in. So yeah, so we haven't covered the classes, right? Classes. So classes, we somehow missed it, but it is the same syntax. Class actually starts with a keyword class. Like function starts with a keyword def, class will start with the keyword class. So I think it's missing in our thing, but there is a question to it, like how you are actually it is related to class related question, how our objects are created and so on. But just remember the syntax of class is also like creating a you have to use class keyword to create a class type, and inside the class you can have your own functions, your own properties. Okay. Yeah. So that's about the fundamentals of Python. Okay, now we have advanced things, inheritance. Yeah, but so try to answer these questions also, whether we have inheritance of Python. Try to see uh, whether solve it yourself. Try to question yourself whether you can build inheritance in Python programming or language or not. And yeah, so we are running out of time. So today we will end the Python session. So I think next, so here just look into the Lambda function also. This is another important topic. What is Lambda function? Just look into the Lambda function. Along with this, also try to, we will not touch Python again. So next, I think in our syllabus, we are having next topic is also related to Python only, I suppose. Fundamentals of Python. Oh, okay. I think there was some homework related to Python. Yeah. Yeah, so we have another topic. Next, fourth topic is also based on Python only. So it's your homework. Please go through this topic. So whatever data types we have learned, whatever data types, dictionary, file, how to open a file, how to manipulate, how to read lines from the file and so on. So this is a project, how to actually project which will help you to open a file, try to work on this particular file. So this particular file contains a set of emails, uh, set of emails in it. So you can actually open this particular file, see what are the contents in this. So go to your console, try to read the file instructions. So there's a simple command head. So you using this head command, you can actually see what are inside contents of it. So here, okay, so it's missing. I think it is missing in my let me see if I have. Yeah, data sets is there. So I'm trying to see, trying to list. Okay, we have a lot of files actually. And the file we are looking for is mbox short, right? Mbox short. Mbox short.txt is there here. Mbox short.txt. Okay. Yeah, mbox short is there. So this should actually work. See Excel data data sets project mbox that short.txt. It should actually work. Maybe. Okay. Mhm. Yeah, so it's working. Somehow it didn't work before. So 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 we already have. So guys, somebody asked me the question, right? How you actually see? So we are already in one particular machine actually. So in our machine, we can see that we have a file mbox.txt, right? So this is a file inside this particular folder. You can you can go inside the folder like cd root. You will go into that folder. Then you can list all the files inside the folder. So these are all the directories inside the folder. There you can go to this particular folder, like simply doing cd of that particular folder list. You get into the folder. Now you can see list of all files, right? Here you have a file called mbox list. So you can see the contents of the file. You can, for to seeing the top contents, you can use this particular instruction head head minus n 15 means like you want to see first 15 lines. Suppose you want to see only one line, you can say minus head minus n minus n l and mbox.txt. So you see that this is a particular file. The first line of the file is something like from Stephen and so and so. This is the first line. But if you want to, if you print the 15 lines, you can see that you can print the 15 lines of it like this, right? You can see all the 15 lines here. So this particular project is to work on this particular file. So this file exists. The contents of the file you can see here. You can manipulate the contents of the files. Suppose it will ask you to find out all the email IDs. So all the email IDs will be coming from the line which starts with from, right? So from and something like this, right? So you need to read all the lines in the particular file, and for all the lines you have to extract only the email IDs. You have to extract only the email IDs. So in this case, the email ID is Stephen Marquette @uct.ac.za, right? So there are some instructions to you. You will be asked to find out all the problems. Just go through the each and every question. So you have to load the data set. Basically, it's a file data set. Load the data set mshort.txt, load it, and explore the contents of the email. Like, how do you explore the contents of the email? You can just check it out by following the instructions. So just this is your homework. Just go through, execute all these commands. Execute all these commands. Here, you open the file, you read the file, and close the file. And you are given a problem statement. Like the problem statement is you have to write the logic to count the number of lines in the file. So how many lines are there in the total number of lines in the file? How many file in this particular mbox.short.txt? How many lines of there? You have to identify that. You have to count the number of lines and find output. Try to solve this problem. After we solve the problems, go to the next problem. So this project is about making your hands-on as much as possible. So giving you an example file and try to work on it. So type all your code, try to write the logic in your notebook and evaluate the expressions, evaluate the program you are writing, and see if you are able to solve the problems or not. Okay. Once you solve the problem, you can submit the answer one by one and solve it. Let me know. Let me know after you have completed this particular homework. Okay. So for this, we are ending our session. By next weekend, please complete this particular topic. This is a very small topic. It has only 10 chapters in it. It's all about working on a file system, manipulating on the email contents which are there in the file system, finding the number of lines, finding the from email ID, from whom we are getting the email IDs, counting number of emails, counting number of emails from a particular person, how are you going to write the code, so on. So by doing it yourself, this whole chapter, it will make yourself Python hands-on. By this, we are ending the session. Okay, then let's meet in the next session next week. We are ending the session for now. See you for today. Okay, good night.
Yeah, Anil. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Okay, bye.